people, welcome back to the United View HQ. Welcome back to another episode of What the Devil. Today, I'm your host Dylan, and it's just me today. We couldn't get Alice in the building, unfortunately, couldn't get the others, but we are here. I'm here, and I want to talk with you guys. I like doing these solo shows, on occasion, I like doing some of these solo shows to talk about maybe the wider situation at United. Talk about, the games upcoming, the next 5 or so games under Michael Carrick, how the season's shaping up, and how, irritatingly, and this is something that I've woken up this morning being really annoyed about, how that if we had sacked Ruben Amorim, 3 weeks earlier, I'd say, 3 or 4 weeks earlier, mid-December, we'd be in this flipping title race. I really think we would. Because, so we lost against Everton. We drew against West Ham twice. I know one of them was under Michael Carrick, but when we drew at home 1-1 against West Ham, we drew to Leeds. We drew to Burnley. We drew to Wolves. In another world, that's another, I'm not saying we'd have won all those games, but that's what? Another 6 points, 7 points that would put us, if we beat Everton on the weekend, would put us something like third. We'd be third. We'd be a couple points. We'd be probably level on points with City, wouldn't we? We'd be a point behind Man City. And yeah, look. So one of the comments it says that Arsenal cooking. Look, I will get on to Arsenal, and also if you want to see me talk more about Arsenal and some of the things I have to say about this Arsenal team, and also Arsenal fans out there who 48 hours ago I was being cooked on Instagram, right, on DR Sports Instagram by Arsenal fans for saying they need 3 new forwards. I was being cooked for it. Look what happened last night. These forwards, they have no killer instinct. But actually, no, I'm not going to go on about Arsenal now because, it's a United show. I want to talk about United. I want to talk about my club. We can talk about Laurie's club, Robbie's club, Marty's club. We can do it later on Live at 5 on DR Sports. But for now, I want to talk about United, and I want to talk a little bit about our transfer plans coming up because obviously the January window was ended. That ended a few weeks ago. It ended 17 days ago, 2.5 weeks ago. But I think it was really obvious from the beginning of January, from even before Ruben Amorim was sacked, that our work was gonna be in the summer, wasn't it? Our work was going to be in the summer, but at that point, we weren't sure about Champions League football. Obviously, we're still not sure about Champions League football yet, but what we are, I think it's becoming increasingly likely that obviously we're going to end up with European football of some extent. We haven't had European football this season. We've had 1 game in the FA Cup. We've had 1 game in the EFL Cup, in the Carabao Cup. Okay, it's been hard, guys. Just from a United content creator perspective, someone obviously running United District, we've got the What the Devil here, DR Sports. I want to be talking about about United on DR Sports on Live at 5. But I feel like every time I mention United at the moment, it feels forced because there's nothing happening half the time. We've had our own, and we've all been in this together. We've had our own international break, haven't we? We literally have 13 days. 13 days without football. And it's 13 days without Carrick ball. And it's 13 days with the West Ham 1-1 draw being the last game that I've seen. It's so typical. But heading over towards transfers, as I said, obviously we got guys in the chat. Like Ronnie's in the chat, big up. Jordan in the chat, Bonehurt in the chat. I want you guys to get involved with me, okay? Talking about what should we be doing in the transfer window? Because I feel like as much as we can say, we need 2 midfielders, we need a new left winger and stuff, I do feel a lot of it will massively depend, on obviously which manager comes in. Will it be Michael Carrick? Will it be all the others? Yeah, I say all the others who are being linked. Half of them basically have jobs now, so won't be linked to us and won't be coming to Manchester United this summer. But it's also who goes. And I want to start with a report I saw, because several outlets, to be fair, in the last few days have been mentioning things like this. It's about United and a possible striker. So we have Benjamin Šeško will be our first team starting striker, right? That's what we might not be this season, might be coming towards next season, right? Where this drops in, where this comes in. It might be next season where Benjamin Šeško start. He's one of the first people on the team sheet every single time. But I do think that we've got Brian Mbeumo who can play at striker. We've got Matheus Cunha who can play at striker. But I do feel like we do need a first team striker, like an experienced forward, because we're losing Casemiro in the summer, right? Which is so gutting. I know previously, a couple of seasons ago, I was saying get him gone. I was saying that he's lost his legs or whatever. I, along with a lot of us, I think some of you guys out there as well will admit, we were wrong. We were definitely wrong on that. But I feel like we need an experienced striker, but at the same time, I don't know who's out there. Because I would want someone who's like 29, 30 years old for me. Maybe Premier League experience. Maybe someone who is happy to be playing some of the Champions League games plus a couple of the Premier League games. But, coming on for Benjamin Šeško, if we need another option, we need someone like Eddie Cavani. You know what? Obviously, we had Eddie Cavani. I know I'd say he's better than a backup striker, the Eddie Cavani that we had been. He was our starting striker until Ronaldo came in alongside Anthony Martial. But it's someone like that I think would be so good. Ronnie says, I don't want Liam Delap. I'd rather have Weghorst back. I think we can. There are other people out there who aren't Liam Delap or Weghorst. And I was a big champion of trying to get Liam Delap in the summer because I was thinking £30 million for someone who got double digits in the Premier League to a relegated Ipswich Town side. I thought that was a great value for money deal. Obviously, it's not worked out at Chelsea at all. He's been a little one-dimensional till we started there. But I do think a striker has got to be something that we go for. It's got to be someone who's 29, 30, 31 years old. Someone who knows how to score a couple goals, maybe has Prem experience. I don't know if there are any names out there that you guys can think of that would be very, very good additions to United in that type of mould. But I really wouldn't be surprised to see that happen in the summer. And it definitely needs to if Joshua Zirkzee was to go. I do think Zirkzee will likely go. Everything seems to be heading that way. Obviously, he probably would be more useful in Europe than he would be when we've got no European football right now. But for the most extent, Danny, like one of the chats says Danny Welbeck. Look, that's the kind of thing that I mean. Danny Welbeck could be a very, very good option. He could be or even if it's someone like, not specifically him maybe, but like a Raul Jimenez type player. Maybe not Raul Jimenez, I feel like he's, at Fulham, he blows hot and cold, but someone like that who's played in kind of maybe the mid-table clubs for now, who hasn't maybe been at a big club like United, like Arsenal, like Liverpool, whatever. But someone around that who just knows the game, knows how to get at a couple centre-backs, occupy them, and play with their teammates. I feel like it will be such a good and such a useful transfer to have. And for the most part as well, bring an aging striker, I'd say Kane. Yeah, but Harry Kane wouldn't play backup to Benjamin Šeško. Harry Kane is obviously if the chance came to sign Harry Kane, I think his release clause like 56 million or 52 million or something. Obviously, that would be an incredible signing. That would be put us as one of the possible favourites for the title if we then go and get our other, get a centre mid as well, centre back and everything like that. But I don't think that would work because you can't go to Harry Kane. I know you've scored 50 goals in the Bundesliga in the last 2 seasons. We want you to play second fiddle to the guy who in the same league scored 13 when he was there and has netted about 10 this season. That wouldn't work. It'd be great for Harry Kane, Benjamin Šeško to loan off Harry Kane, and obviously if that's the transfer that could happen, then awesome. But I don't know. Obviously he wouldn't come in as a backup striker. He would come as United's starting number 9. That's what would happen. Yeah, but I do think a striker would be a very, very good first option. I think that's something that we've got to look at. And then we're going to be spending a lot of money. This is why on the thumbnail I said, £250 million action plan, because it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer that we are going to spend a lot of money on at least one central midfielder, and then we're also going to spend more on a second. Elliot Anderson is our first choice midfielder. Everyone knows this. It's being said in the media. It's Elliot Anderson. And I do think, for us, I think Elliot Anderson is that guy. I go on my Twitter page. I go back to on Twitter. If you want to follow me, Dyliano, Dylyano. Search Elliot Anderson on there. Bro, there are tweets from 2023. Before last season before last, while I was going on about Elliot Anderson, I was saying this guy is cold. This guy is a good midfielder. And since then, he's stepped it up big time. Even though Nottingham Forest are in a bit of the mud at the moment, Elliot Anderson is so good. If we want a Casemiro replacement, someone that can do kind of the things that Casemiro doing, the role Casemiro has and the role Casemiro plays, that's the guy you want. I am so confident when I say this that I think that is the guy that you want. But the thing is, if Man City were to come in and go, we need a Rodri replacement, we need a new starting midfielder, would Elliot Anderson say yes to United over City? I'm a bit worried that he wouldn't. I'm a bit worried that we would have to... dealing with Nottingham Forest is one thing, because I think there are some... Ben Jacobs, I remember saying He was saying a couple of months ago, saying about, I think, in the December or January window, he was saying something along the lines of, he talked about how there are some considerations in his contract and some agreements in place that they're not going to demand an extortionate fee for Elliot Anderson should one of the biggest clubs in the world, a Champions League level club, a league title fighting club, were to come in for him. I think Forest have committed to, well, they've at least said that they will try and be reasonable. They'll try and negotiate. They're not going to try and hold the player hostage like his sack at Newcastle, for example. But at the same time, we saw what happened with Morgan Gibbs-White and Spurs last summer. Spurs hit the release clause and he didn't go because Nottingham Forest got if you put a release clause in a contract, you're basically saying that to a certain extent you're willing to see the player leave for the right price. They hit the release clause and it didn't work. So negotiating with Nottingham Forest is it's just going to be such a hard step to start with. But I think Elliot Anderson, unfortunately, I'd be surprised if he came to United should other teams come calling, because Adam Wharton, I have a sneaky feeling, is going to end up at Liverpool. I don't know why. I think that. I don't know if I've read a report and I've forgotten that I've read a report or something. But Elliot Anderson, I just feel Adam Wharton, I think, is going Liverpool. If they were to come in for him, he just feels a bit like a Liverpool player when I watch him. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but that makes sense to me at least. Elliot Anderson just feels like he's going to end up at City. It just does, and I will be gutted. I will be absolutely gutted if Elliot Anderson is wearing a sky blue shirt in mid-August, first day, the opening weekend of next season. If he's not in red, if he's in sky blue, I'm not going to be fuming. I'm going to be livid, because we'll see what happens elsewhere. If we end up not signing a good centre midfielder, then yeah. But because that's when the conversation then turns to Carlos Baleba and Sandro Tonali. Now, I want you guys to know. Let me know. Sandro Tonali, Carlos Baleba. Where I'm not doing that on purpose. I'm not. Who are you thinking of here? Who do you want? Who do you think's better? Because Baleba in the summer, obviously we were linked with him a load. We wanted him for around the same price they sold João Pedro, as in Brighton sold João Pedro to Chelsea for, which was around 60 odd million. That's where we were thinking maybe the conversation could go, and that's why the plans were accelerated to see if we could get him in mid-August or towards the end of August, was when obviously all the reports came out. For me, I was like, okay, interesting. I had the same position that I had with Šeško, which was I was a big fan of getting in. I was a fan of getting in Liam Delap, which I know obviously that hasn't worked out at Chelsea. I still think it would have been different if it was United. But then my next one on that list, I was saying Ollie Watkins. That didn't happen. We went and got Benjamin Šeško instead. And I was like, okay, interesting. I know Šeško's highly rated. HTO, my mate from the Overlap Breakdown, he's sending me a message being like, no, Dylan, Šeško is the man. He's the man. He's the guy. He is the one. He is the chosen striker. And I was like, okay. I'll wait and I'll learn. At the start, Šeško looked all right. He had that great run where he scored against Brentford and he scored against Sunderland, and then he got an assist against Brighton in the league at Old Trafford. I was like, okay, he looks good. Then against Spurs, he got injured 6 weeks out. Carrick's now come in, and Šeško's got 5 goals in 6 games since Ruben Amorim left, which I really don't think is that's not a coincidence at all. But obviously, he's been coming off the bench, playing against fresh legs, but he's got good goals. And so for the most part, with the Šeško signing, I'm like, okay, I can back it. I can see the vision. Because before I was like, I'll wait to see if I can see the vision for Šeško. Now I can say I can see the vision for him. Now I hope that hopefully for the rest of this season, he can knock in a few more goals, and then he can start next season, as I've been saying, start as our starting striker and start playing more regularly, understand his team, understand his environment, and kick on from the summer onwards. But with midfield and Baleba, I was like, okay, I want to see if this would be the kind of thing that could work out. If we do end up signing him, cool, I'll see how it works out. But it's not the same. So I know it's a really roundabout way for me getting to this point, but it's not the same with Tonali. Tonali, I have an automatic, I see the vision. I can hear it. I can smell it being a good move. I really, really can. Because Tonali, he's been at Newcastle. So he was at AC Milan. And he was amazing, right? Like 21, 22 years old, he looked. Look, the Serie A is the Premier League, different gravy to the Serie A. So obviously, when players do play well in the Serie A, there is it's a conversation to be had that maybe they can translate it to the Prem, but we don't know. Let's say Rafael Leao was to come to one of the big clubs in the Premier League. You think, okay, in theory, great winger and striker, but you don't know 100% what's going to go on there. With Tonali, he came to Newcastle. You had that hilarious video of him looking. He could not look more depressed on his signing day. When they were showing him round the training ground, and his girlfriend was like, "Look, Sandro, look, this is lovely, Sandro," and he was there like, "Yeah." He looked so sad, but. He then got hit with that 10-month gambling ban or something? It's 10-month betting ban or whatever it was. So it's kind of a bit like, he's had 3 seasons in the Prem, but it's kind of 2. But wow. This guy, 25 years old, as a DM, playing in a hard league, playing in a team that doesn't always dominate, a team where he's going to have to work super hard on the ball and super hard off the ball. If it can't be Elliot Anderson, for me, sign me up for Sandro Tonali. For me, but Newcastle. Look, I know I talked about negotiations in Nottingham Forest. For Anderson could be hard work. So would Tonali. That'd be equally hard work. This is why I'm wondering why these random on deadline day when the news came out about Arsenal has spoken to Tonali's agents or blah blah blah. Blah. There is a reason for that. And there have been so many reports recently saying that they reckon this is Tonali's last few months at Newcastle. There will be a big move coming in for him. Could be to Europe, could be to the Prem. Arsenal hilariously need another midfielder. Arsenal need a lot. They need a lot. As I said right at the beginning of the video, I think they need a lot. But Tonali is gettable, it's doable. And if we see Wharton go to Liverpool, if we see Anderson go to City, Tonali is then there for the taking. And I think he'd pick us. I think Tonali would pick us. And that would be great. But then it's the case of the price. So they signed him £55 million from AC Milan, which at the time, big move that. 55 million quid for a 22-year-old from AC Milan, and a team in AC Milan that at the time wasn't the absolute world's best team, in a league where it's really hit or miss. And generally, midfield is the hardest to work out. If it's midfield and goalkeeper, hardest to work out. Is it going to translate well? It translated brilliant for Tonali. But I really think if we can get that deal, how much do you think Tonali is worth? Okay, so let's say Newcastle ask for £100 million. They go, we want Moise Caicedo money. We want Declan Rice money. Are you going to be okay paying that? Would you? I know, say you're going to be okay paying that. What was it? Kim yesterday on Live at 5? He was talking about. He was saying that transfer fees, we shouldn't care. We shouldn't care about transfer fees, how much players cost. But I think in United's scenario, look, if we get Champions League, that's an extra 100 mil or something add to the transfer budget. Then that obviously that gives us so much freedom. With that, we can sign a new left winger, new striker, 2 new midfielders, and then possibly a centre back or a left back. Because I am going to get onto that. But if it goes to 9 figures for Sandro Tonali, look, and all DMs at the moment, all world class DMs are about 80 to 110 million, aren't they? They're all going for that amount of money. Think about how much Real Madrid would have asked for Casemiro when he was 26. In this current market, they're asking for 150 mil or something. I would love it. Would absolutely love it if we could get that. And yes, I do mean that reference. If we can get Tonali, 80 would be a dream because I just know you know what Newcastle are going to do in this scenario here. So if Belieber is to drop in value, it's a hard one. I am just kind of thinking out loud here. Thank you guys for watching while it's just me thinking out loud. If Brighton's valuation for Belieber drops to about 70, and then Newcastle, they're asking for 115, 110, 105 million for Tonali. Actually, I still think Tonali's the better option. I still think Tonali would be the better signing even at that price. I just do. Belieber's a great player. Belieber's had a bad season so far. He was good at AFCON with Cameroon when he did play. I think he looked very, very nice, very silky, very good at AFCON. Belieber's still a good player, but he's had such a horror season because I think he was so up for this United move and it didn't work out. And also, he might just be tired. There's a lot to do with Belieber's situation as to why he's not playing at his best. He is much better than what we're seeing. But I just think, like, this league, this Premier League, like, this is, as I said right at the beginning, Ruben Amorim, if he was sacked a month earlier, we would be like 4 points off Arsenal right now. We would be second. We were second under Amorim at one point, at half-time against Spurs, at half-time against Forest. Still annoys me. But I don't see why this year the league would have been there for the possible taking had we had a better manager. Not saying we would have won it, but we'd have been in the conversation. I really do think so. So why can't we also be in the conversation next season? And that's why I think, okay, you can bring in Belieber, who's got a very high ceiling, but you can bring in Sandro, because Tonali is right now the kind of age where, when we started looking at Matheus Cunha, that was around this time last year. When we started thinking about Brian and Bumo, that was around this time last year. Both players were 25. Both players, when is Tonali's birthday? Right. Tonali's birthday, May 2000. Oh, wow. He's like 2 months older than me. That's crazy. So 8th of May 2000. So towards the end of this season, he's going to turn 26. Matheus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo turned 26 just after we signed them. Same kind of thing. And so I really am thinking here it's going to be a similar level of impact. In terms of getting, I know right now I'm in, obviously, Tonali and Kobbie Mainoo, right, 26-year-old Tonali next to 21-year-old Kobbie Mainoo, and if we then can keep Bruno Fernandes, and then you've got Matheus Cunha, Brian Mbeumo, and Benjamin Šeško up top, and or even Ahmad into that conversation as well, and you add another left winger, and then you add, because also another thing that I want is another midfielder. Let's say you add, so someone I really, really like, and I've been banging on about him for weeks at the moment, I've been banging on about him for a couple of months now, is Matheus Fernandes from West Ham. If West Ham go down, and you can get Matheus Fernandes for about, 30-odd million, 35, 40-odd million, maybe 40 might be a bit too high. But, man, that's a good team. Why can't we then be competing? Challenging for the league title. Liverpool will get better next season. Alexander Isak will become back. Florian Wirtz will be better. Gravenberch will be better. They might not have Mo Salah anymore, but they will have players that they will be better. Right? Man City will be better. They'll have Mark Gay with a pre-season. Semenyo, Haaland. These guys will be better. Arsenal really depends on if they win the league this season and also if they go and get their new forward line that they need to, because look, they need a new forward line. Maybe Gyökeres they can keep or not keep, but they need a different left winger. They badly need a left winger. They're going to need a new attacking midfielder. Kai Havertz is always injured. Odegaard always injured. We're kind of settled. Let's say Michael Carrick was to stay. He's already worked with these players for 6 months. If we can then go and get striker, left winger, 2 mids, and then a new defender, I don't see why we can't be in the conversation. I'm not saying 95 points, we're going to break every record, we're going to win the league. What I'm saying is that because of the way this season has gone and the way and the level of player that we seem to be targeting, and if we get into the Champions League and the level of money that we can then have to spend in the summer, I don't see why we can't improve significantly enough in the summer, recruit enough in the summer to then be able to then be in some sort of conversation next season about could United do something, be a bit of a dark horse. Man City will probably be favourites. Liverpool probably second favourites, maybe Arsenal third favourites. I don't see why we can't be in that conversation as a possible dark horse for the Premier League next season. I wholeheartedly believe, get this summer right and we can talk about that big time. And Sandro Tonali, in the most roundabout way I possibly can have said this, because I've been talking about it for about 15 minutes now, that's how I see it. With the Mbeumo impact this season, the Cunha impact this season, Senna Lomans will get better. But you can bring in, Prem proven, someone like Tonali, even if it's going to cost you 100 million quid. That's no pocket change. That's our entire Champions League. That's what the Champions League would bring in for the club, spent all on one 25-year-old Italian. But he could be the 25-year-old Italian. Big time. Anyway, moving on to the defence. Harry Maguire. Also someone else. Look, my thoughts on Harry Maguire depend massively on if I'm actually seeing him play or not. Because he was great towards the beginning of the season, right? When he was playing alongside De Ligt and Luke Shaw as a back three, when he was at central centre back, even on Ruben Amorim, I was like, look, this guy's good. And we didn't beat Spurs, the 2-2 draw at the Tottenham Stadium, we lost that. Well, we drew that game, didn't we? Well, we lost our lead that game because that was when Harry Maguire went off, Casemiro went off. Oof. And I remember saying, I've written it a number of times on United District's website, and I've said it on Live at 5, and I think I've said it here as well. With Maguire and Casemiro, don't keep both, but don't lose both. And if Casemiro is going, there is scope. I do think Maguire... It's hard. When he gets injured, and he gets his 6-week, 2-month injury that we've just seen him have, it's long. It's like, cool, we've got a centre-back on 190 grand a week who's unavailable for 2 months again, has pulled his hamstring again, who's injured again, missing loads of months again. But he comes back, and him and Lisandro Martinez suddenly look like the best centre-back pairing I've seen since Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane. Like during the Ten Hag's first season. It's so irritating, man, because if he was to accept a wage cut, because reports saying that he would accept a wage cut of around like 40%, so dropping down to about 130 grand a week. And also reports coming out from Samuel Luckhurst and others saying that United's players think it'll be madness if he isn't offered a new deal. What kind of contract would you want to see Harry Maguire give him? Because I wouldn't mind. So he's 32? 33? 32 years old. He's turning 33 in a couple weeks' time. I reckon a 2-year deal for Harry Maguire with an option for an extra one. Like, that could be triggered appearance-based, or that could be, just up to the club's discretion, or maybe, I don't know, trophy-based or whatever. Something, I don't know, whatever like that. Could be a good idea. But I want to see him starting to be put into the... Not yet, but maybe like second up, like around this. Let's say he does get the 2-year deal with an option for a third, or a 1+1 deal. Kind of the Johnny Evans role that we saw a few seasons ago, where Johnny Evans did come into the side. He started like 15 games or something when he first joined us in that Eric Ten Hag second season, I believe, because of Harry Maguire's injuries, funnily enough. But I think that could be very, very good. But also, do we need a new centre-back? Or do we need a new left-back? Because I think the future of Patrick Dorgu has a big say on... I do think we need to sign a new defender next time. We can't go 2 seasons in a row without signing a new defender, be that right back, left back, or centre back. I do think it needs to be someone. But the future of Patrick Dorgu, I do... where we see him playing long term will have a big impact on that. Because let's say we see Patrick Dorgu... Let's say United see Dorgu as a left winger. Because obviously that's where he's been playing so well recently before his hamstring injury. He was playing it wasn't left back, it was left wing. And he scored against City, and he scored an absolute beauty against Arsenal. Look, ask Dorgu to do that 100 times. He probably doesn't score that more than 15 times, right? Especially against, obviously, who's it against. But he did it when it mattered. If it's left wing, and we see Dorgu as competing alongside a new left winger, Cunha, then we go and sign a new left back. Because we've just got Luke Shaw. But also Harry Amas. Would you, for example, so Luke Shaw's been great this season. Do we see Harry Amas as an immediate competitor for Luke Shaw next season? Because Harry Amas was doing so well at Sheffield Wednesday, but he's gone to Norwich and sustained a hamstring injury. He's now back at Carrington to get his treatment, and then they'll send him back to Norwich for the end of the season if there's time. But does Harry Amas need another loan? And do we go and sign a left back? Or... Because I think I would rather take a chance on Harry Amas as a first team competing with Luke Shaw at left back, because Harry Amas will be 19, 20 years old during next season, which is good enough, I think, to start some games. Let's say we are in the Champions League. We're playing Karabag or Kara Almaty and stuff like that. That's where you don't play Luke Shaw. You play Harry Amas, or even you give Harry Amas 3 or 4 games in the Prem, see these kind of games. But, yeah, I do think... Maybe, again, I'm just kind of thinking aloud, it might be better to get a centre-back. And I think a centre-back that's the kind of age of mid to late 20s. Someone because, look, I've got a lot of faith in Lenny Yoro. I've got a lot of faith in Aiden Heaven. I think that could be a centre-back partnership for the future. Obviously, left footer, right footer, both fairly comfortable playing at left centre-back and at right centre-back. Lisandro Martinez is 27. Matthias de Ligt, his injuries... It's irritating because he was so good earlier on this season, and he's now missed 14 or 15 Prem games in a row. He's due to be back later next month, I think it is, mid-March or something. So around in 3 or 4 weeks' time. But Michael Carrick will give some sort of confirmation tomorrow on De Ligt. But yeah, I think possibly the best thing would be to do is give Harry Amas a shot in the first team squad next season. This is all assuming that we get European football, preferably Champions League. Harry Amas a squad to push Luke Shaw, because I think Luke Shaw's been good enough this season that we shouldn't try. I mean, no one's going to sign him in the summer, anyway. Who's going to bid for Luke Shaw in the summer? Maybe a Saudi club will come in for him, but I don't think Luke Shaw would bother trying to do that because he's out of contract next summer anyway. I don't think anyone will come in for Luke Shaw next summer. So Shaw will be in the squad next summer. If he stays fit, cool. If he remains fit, even after the World Cup, let's say a miracle comes in, and let's say Luke Shaw continues to stay fit next season as well. I think that could be something good because even then it's Harry Amas learning under Luke Shaw, because Harry Amas is a little like Luke Shaw. I would like to see Amas given a chance in the Prem next season. Obviously, as long as his injury goes fine and he continues his form. But then that means I think signing another centre back around that age, 26, 27, 28, doesn't necessarily need to be a first team starting centre back. But then we got then Yoro and Heaven, both late team, will be both about 20, 21 years old next season. Then we can have Lisandro Martinez, Mateus de Ligt, and the new centre back as mid to late 20s, experienced centre backs who can come in, do a job, settled, and know what they're good at. Then you've got Harry Maguire as the older senior centre back. That's 6 centre backs there, which is enough cover for 2 positions across 4 competitions. Plus, I want to see Kukonki being given a chance with the first team squad around next season, because obviously he was fantastic in the FA Youth Cup last night and also against Man City on the weekend. Kukonki's looking very, very, I think he's just turning 18. He looks very good, 6'5", because you've then got your academy player to learn off those other 6, make a whole band of 7, and I think that could work really, really well. So we got left wing, I think needs to be signed in the summer. Who that is it a starting left wing, a competing left wing, or is it someone like an Arsenal's Trossard when they first signed Trossard from Brighton? A striker, an older, experienced striker, Tonali or Anderson, starting DM alongside Kobbie Mainoo, because it has to be alongside Kobbie Mainoo, plus another option, someone like Mateus Fernandes. Go and get someone from the relegated sides, or go and get someone with Premier experience who can play that kind of role, and a mid to late 20s centre-back. Those are my 5. And we've got there after 33 minutes, 32 minutes. We've got the 5. Now, I want to move on. 6 centre-backs. Yeah, 6 centre-backs is very, very normal. If you've got 2 starters, 2 challengers, and then a young one and an experienced one to cover for injuries. Because if 2 centre-backs get injured, and you only want 5, you suddenly only got 3. Look at Liverpool. They've had 3 centre-backs all season. They've been conceding goals left, right, and centre. If 1 or 2 of them isn't on form, you want others to come in. You want to be able to have depth. Look at Arsenal. When they've got their 2 amazing centre-backs. They also have Mosquera. They also have Nkapie. They also have Calafiori who can play centre-back. They've got 5, 6, 7 centre-backs, or people who can play centre-back because they need it, because injuries happen if you're playing twice a week. That's just how it happens. But anyway, moving on to Everton. It's been going to be 13. By the time we kick off against Everton, there's going to be 13 days. 13 days since our last game, as I said at the beginning. And I think there should be 2 changes made to this starting 11. But one of them is I don't know how we're going to make the change. The first one would be obviously Senna Lomans. I want to see starting in goal because he's been great. I think he's grown also, by the way, since the start of the year. Since that Newcastle game, that game where we beat Newcastle 1-0 at Old Trafford, I really think he has grown. It's about centre-backs. What if they stay fit? I hope they all stay fit. But you shouldn't not sign someone on the chart. You should be able to compensate for injuries. Do you want 2 centre-backs in your squad? Anyway, sorry. Moving on to Everton. Sandro Tonali in goal. Luke Shaw at left-back because there's no other option. Harry Maguire. Because Maguire, by the way, he did have that problem. He came off against West Ham, but he's in training, 13 days, no football. He seems absolutely fine alongside Lisandro Martinez. But I would like to see Nusayr Mazraoui start at right-back. Not necessarily because I'm saying, Diogo Dalot is going to... I'm not saying, drop Diogo Dalot because he's been terrible. He's been up and down. In the West Ham game, he wasn't fantastic. But I want to see Nusayr Mazraoui. I want to see Maz given a chance. I want to see him given, to show Michael Carrick something. Because he is a right back. So he's been playing right centre back and right wing back under Ruben Amorim for the last 14 months. He's had a couple injuries this season. Last season, he was playing every single minute of every single game twice a week. And that eventually led to some injuries this season because, as we all know, you need options and you need depth to be able to manage minutes and manage injuries, especially once you're back in Europe. That's why you need 5-6 centre backs in your squad, even if you're only playing 2. But I want to see him given a chance because I think he's great with the ball and he's great defensively, and he's not as solid going forward all the time. Like, I do think he might have he's a little more one-dimensional than Dalot, but I would like to see him start because if you're going to have Luke Shaw pushing so high on the left-hand side anyway, you want someone who can tuck in well, and I think Maz could do very well with that. Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo both have to be starting as the midfield pivot. Obviously, Casemiro has been amazing, Mainoo's been fantastic recently, and Bruno Fernandes has to start ahead of him. But the question that I have then is out of Matheus Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo and Ahmad, who drops for Benjamin Šeško? Because I would love to see Šeško start. I really would. Jake O'Brien, one of their starting centre-backs, is out for the game. He's suspended for the game. So they're going to already have to have a less balanced front line, David Moyes. They need the points. Sorry, back line. They need the points. They need to stay strong. They need to stay stable, but they can't just sit back and soak up pressure. They're at home. Their fans will demand it. They'll ask for it, especially with no Jack Grealish. They'll want Ndiaye to step up. They want Beto to step up. They want to play some football against us. So I'd love to see Benjamin Šeško start, but I would really like to see Šeško starting on the weekend. On the weekend on Monday night. Monday night football is going to be. I'm going to go to bed so late. But I don't know who to drop. I really don't know who to drop because I don't want to drop Cunha because I know it's been at Goodison Park previously, but away against Everton has tended to be where we've seen our slightly more maverick players shine. That's when Marcus Rashford's always been at his best. That's when Bruno Fernandes scored some lovely goals at Goodison Park. You've got Anthony Martial's been great there. Jesse Lingard scored some bangers there. Like, I know it's been Goodison Park, not the Hill Dickinson Stadium, but Everton away has always been a game where you've seen our good players come out with a bit of flair, our cool players, our fun players come out with a bit of flair. So I think Cunha could do well that game, like drifting inside, especially helping Šeško if he was to drift inside and play off Šeško, that'd be great. With Luke Shaw staying out wide, putting in balls. And then it comes down to who then starts on the right-hand side between Ahmad and Mbeumo. And I can't pick. My head would go to have Ahmad come off the bench instead because he's played 90 minutes of a lot of the games. But and then at the same time, we've still had 13 days rest. I can see Euro coming in and Maguire being dropped. That's a possibility, especially if Maguire is a bit iffy. If he's not fully fit, for example, obviously because he had to come off. I can kind of see it. But I think, with that sense, Carrick will want to stick with what he knows for the most part. I would drop Ahmad, I think, because I think I'd start Mbeumo on the right wing and I'd put Ahmad on the bench because I think if Ahmad comes off the bench, he'd be able to make an impact quicker than Bryan Mbeumo could. For example, like coming on the 70th minute, right? Because also I think Ahmad off the bench is a bit more flexible because then we can take Mbeumo off. If Mbeumo having a great game, Ahmad goes on the right. If Šeško's not having a great game, Šeško can come off and Mbeumo goes up front, Ahmad goes on the right. And then Mbeumo can also play on the left. He played on the left against Spurs. And that could happen if Cunha's not having a great game or if we want to hold a bit more width. I think ultimately I'd rather have Ahmad on the bench and Mbeumo starting because I feel Ahmad has the explosiveness and the unpredictability that will be so good from a player off the bench, like Cunha when Dorgu was starting on the left wing and Cunha came off the bench against City and against Arsenal. He was unpredictable. That's what did him so well. And it seems, do I see Cunha on the left wing or should we be playing in centre forward? I like Cunha on the left wing because of the fact that he's given a free role to drift in and out. Because Luke Shaw holds so high and wide on the left that Cunha being able to pop up on the left, in the middle, on the right does so well. So I don't necessarily see Cunha as a left winger per se, but if you were to draw up a starting 11. I would rather Cunha be that guy on the left-hand side, but given the role to roam left and right and up front or whatever, to do whatever he likes to do, because that's where he has his best. And I do get the Šeško off the bench. He's been great off the bench. Obviously, he scored the equaliser against West Ham, scored the winner against Fulham, but he deserves a start. 5 goals in his last 6 appearances. I feel like he deserves to be given the chance to play like a couple games up front. Everton away, and then Crystal Palace at home next couple games. I do think Šeško deserves to be given 70 minutes, given 80 minutes, given 90 minutes, because he's been great. He's been really, really good. I feel he deserves a start. And Bumo or Ahmad, I feel like against West Ham, both of them weren't great. So I feel, if one of them was to be dropped, or even Cunha, I thought wasn't great against West Ham as well. I was fuming at him when by the time he came off. I just feel one of them should come off for Šeško. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Cool. Šeško can come back off, and then he can come off the bench against Crystal Palace, for example. Like, that's fine. That is absolutely fine, because he's fine with it. Carrick can manage it well, and all these players together as a team. But yeah, I just feel Šeško should be starting, and Ahmad would be best to come off the bench because of the impact he can have off the bench. And I'm going to go score prediction 3-2 or 3-1, depending on if our defence want to turn up or not. I'm going to go 3-1. Stay positive. Be positive, Dylan. Try and stay positive. I'm going to go 3-1 United against West Ham, against Everton on Monday night. I think that's, in the comment section, let me know your score predictions. You got this far into the video. Thank you so much for watching. Much appreciated. The solo episode of What the Devil here this week with your host, Dylan. Obviously, follow United District or me on Twitter. I'm Dyliano, Dylyano, or Dill Talks Ball on Instagram. I think that's TikTok as well, but I've not opened TikTok in about 2.5 months. But apart from that, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a pleasure. I'll be live at 5 on DR Sports with AGT and Marty to go through all of the latest Premier League news. There's Walter Marta stuff, the Arsenal game where I'll be cooking Marty for his team, bottling it. We've got bottles all over the studio, ready and waiting for him. Apart from that, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next Thursday. Cheers.